So, welcome to today's podcast. We're live across the entire world through LinkedIn, and it's always a pleasure having you join us. Today's session is called How to Double Your Earnings by Staying Outside Your Comfort Zone. And I'm really fascinated to see who's going to join us, what they're going to say, and what they're going to contribute to it. As always, we've got our hostesses, well, the mostesses, that's my panel, include my wife, Aziza Crane, and the amazing Debbie Gray. But we're going to invite other people on stage. We'll just have to see who survived the rains in Dubai or the rains around the world to come and join us. So that's coming up next. Looking forward to bringing you with us for the next hour or so on Speak on Stage. Let's go live now, which means that we've opened up the doors for everyone to come and join us to have an amazing conversation, and hopefully you learn a ton of stuff. I'm never sure what's going to happen whenever we do the group like this, because we get some amazing people that come on, but they usually tend to join us in the last minute, just as we're about to finish and say, right, have a lovely afternoon, or whatever it would be. People turn up and say, no, I've got stuff to contribute. And we're going to turn around and say, well, you should have done it earlier when we had lots and lots of time for you to join in. But we're going to do what we can anyway. So first of all, hello to Debbie. How are you, Debbie?
I'm good, thank you. How are you and Aziza? I believe you've had a tough week with the weather.
Yeah, when you mentioned it to me, because it's sunny outside and I went for my power walk this morning, I completely forgot that there was carnage to the point of biblical proportions. He said not even be able to say that properly. Can't spell it, but it's worth a lot of Scrabble. It was carnage about literally... the 3-4 days ago, the whole place was flooded, and we're all wondering what's going to happen next. But literally everything's back to normal, apart from a few cars and a few places that still some water, because this place is really warm and hot, and the government are really good at getting their act together and shifting things. So apparently we're going to get some more on Tuesday, but we'll just have to see how that pans out. But we're very, very fortunate in the fact that despite all the videos and the pictures and the stuff that's out there, and it was brutal, myself and Aziza and Maya and our 2 dogs basically got a little bit wet when we left the house. So they followed my own way of dealing with conflict, which is don't leave the house. And that's what we did. And I'm not sure if Aziza is going to add to that. Some areas are still waterlogged. I've got to say, despite my flippancy, it's been brutal for many, many people, and it really comes to your level above the sea level, I guess, or your water level, because some places the water flooded down, and some places the water didn't reach you. So we're quite lucky. We're living in a street where we're in the middle of a kind of slopey road, so the water flooded down to the bottom of the street, and lots of cars had water over their roofs. For us, we were lucky in the fact that we had it up to our knees, and that was about it. So we got off very lightly, and I feel for everybody who's got more challenges. The government has said it'll sort it out for many people, which I know they will, and also they're investing, I think it's $80 billion or dirhams or pounds. When it's 80 billion, it doesn't matter what currency, it's a lot, in the sewage restructuring to make sure this doesn't happen again in the future. So I think it's lessons learned, but it doesn't make it any more easy for those who've had the challenges. Maya goes back to school tomorrow, and so we just have to make sure that we know in advance whether she's going to be doing it from home or doing it from the actual physical place of being in school. And the good thing, one of the few good things about the pandemic, is most of us now have an option of going into work or not. So when this kind of thing happens again in the future, if it happens, then you can say, oh, it's okay, we'll work from home, and you get a different set of productivity, but you can still get the results that you wanted from your business without necessarily it dies because you have to physically be there. That's not true for every business, but for many businesses, they manage to pivot and find a different business model.
Yeah, no. It definitely looked like carnage this week. So glad that you and Aziza are well, and of course Maya.
Thank you. Hello.
And hopefully, whatever happens on Tuesday is nowhere near what's transpired this last week.
I don't think we're gonna have to deal with anything like this again. I mean, the problem was that we can't really compensate for rain. You can plan stuff, you can unplug stuff, you can limit your travel and all the rest of it. But where you decide to buy your house and how well it's built are challenges that everybody doesn't know about until you've actually got to face it. Same as anything. So I'm hoping that people will be in a much better position. Certainly, there won't be so many people heading out. If they see the rain, they'll just make a decision within the first hour or so whether they think it's going to settle or not, and make decisions earlier rather than venturing through. And I know that what does happen very well in Dubai is that the organizations, I say Dubai, in fact, it was the whole country. In fact, it was in many ways, it was the other surrounding countries, Bahrain, Oman, India, Pakistan, had to deal with levels of this. Certainly for the UAE, people want to get the very best out of everybody and keep everybody safe. So there will be decisions that were made or will be made with just work from home or limit your travel. Or the government will turn around and say, look, guys, it's going to be challenging. Do not leave your home. And they're quite strict about it. So there you go. And for anybody who's been counting the cost of chasing up the insurance companies, they'll have already had a result back, which says, I think in many cases, your flood and rains count for your cars being damaged if your car was in your garage, not if you decide to drive it out on a trip. So I think that's something that's going to be people will be aware of for the choices that they make over the next week or so and beyond.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the claims will be many.
Indeed. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I wish everybody the very best, and I don't wish it on anybody to have to experience the tough things. One thing, I've been going out for power walks for the last 2 or 3 weeks now, every morning or every other morning, and I go for about 45 minutes, and I listen to podcasts as I go. And one of the most fascinating things that came out of the many podcasts, and I listen a lot to Stephen Bartlett, who does the Diary of a CEO, because he gets some incredible guests on. But they said that success in life only comes from the same way as when you go to the gym. You don't get fit in the gym by doing stuff that's easy. You get fit in the gym by resistance training, by doing stuff that builds up your muscles because you're pushing against something. And it's true in life. If you want to do something that's really, really successful for you, you have to go against the grain and push against it and find solutions and find ways of being able to raise your game because you're doing something that's really uncomfortable. And that's what today's session is really all about. So, I mean, what the title is how to double your earnings by staying outside your comfort zone. I'll be sharing some insights into that soon. But first of all, before we start that, I'd like to say hello to our guests as people start to arrive. I've already said hello to Joanne and Lee. Lee, we haven't chatted yet, but I know who you are, and I'm not a stalker. Al Masser, of course, joining us. Hadi, good to see you. And Fabian. Brilliant. Well, here's what we do. Before we start the broadcast, I want to share some things. We do an hour strictly because my wife tells me we're stopping now, we're eating lunch. So I'm going to warn you, that happens at 2 o'clock UAE time and about 54 minutes from now. But what I like to do is, first of all, the ground rules are when we do invite you up onto stage or you want to come on stage, then make it short and sweet when you start the conversation going. Don't start reeling through your Wikipedia page and telling everybody that, treating it as a motivational session, because then we have to cut you short because it's about brainstorming the best ideas we can amongst everybody. The other thing I was going to say is, if you can share that we're going live now, that will add more people who say, oh, okay, and they'll come and join us in the group. So if you don't mind just sharing the actual post, there should be a button there just to press share, or invite people to come and join us. We should be able to get quite a few more people coming in. Now, what normally happens is we do get people come and join us by the end of a session, and we're just going, wow, that's going to be really exciting. And I say, no, if we carried on from the second hour to, say, the third hour, we'd be packed out, but it doesn't work like that. And the trade-in for it is that we go the same time every single week unless I'm traveling and doing an overseas gig. So every Sunday, I think it's 9 o'clock in the UK, or 10 o'clock, it might be. No, 10 o'clock will be now because the clock's going forward, and 1 o'clock in the UAE, and the rest of the world, whatever your version is, we go live now. So what we're going to start off with is the inspiration for today's session. At any point, if you want to jump on stage, give your comments, ask a question, or give your thoughts on it, then we'd love to know. And you're very welcome. Just use the buttons at the bottom of your phone or device that you're using to be able to raise your hand to join us on stage. I will let you join on stage as long as your internet is good and you don't waffle too much. Then we'd love to have you chatting and sharing your thoughts and ideas as always. Today's session, because we're talking about how to double your earnings by staying outside your comfort zone, there's a very simple reason for doing it. When we're comfortable, we don't grow. That's the whole point. We are humans who are created to want to have a nice, easy life. But the truth is, in a challenging world where capitalism and various other systems reward those who take risks, you actually will do better when you do stuff that's uncomfortable. But that also means that you could lose everything unless you do what I say, which is to jump and grow wings on the way down, which is about making calculated choices. So if you think it could make it and you kind of done the odds and you're kind of okay, then you should be okay to move forward with stuff. And that's what separates you from everybody else. And that's what makes all the big successful people in the world. Lee's an expert on this, and I hope he'll be joining us on stage later to share his insights into this. So I put together a list of a couple of things which I've put into the comments section here on this post, and I'll go through them very quickly on the benefits and the challenges that you'll have when you do decide to get outside of your comfort zone. And so I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'll go through them very quickly. First of all, enhanced creativity. When you look at enhanced creativity and what that means, well, ultimately, when you step outside your comfort zone, you're forced to chase new challenges and situations. And that means that as you do them, that gives you lots of creativity and innovation, because you've got to come up with new ways of getting stuff done rather than your normal routine. Number two, expanded network. When you're pushing your boundaries to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do. In my case, meeting lots of different people. I tend to be very introverted. That also means that you meet people who can really help you raise your game. Fresh opportunities, insights, their connections, and potential of opening up new markets means that expanding your network, which is outside your comfort zone, can be very useful. Number three is this: increasing your say it in English, your adaptability. Now, all these are listed in the comment section, by the way. I'm just going through them because I'm creating an audio version of this on YouTube that people can see later on, just in case they miss this. So regularly placing yourself in unfamiliar situations means that you have to adapt. Just like the pandemic, just like when you've got floods, you have to realize that things are challenging. And it's actually seen that one of the most important things for anybody to have in the current and future workplace is the adaptability. The ability to look at things and say, actually, there's a better way of doing this. And technology and people and your business environment should fold around your different way of moving forward. Number four is higher confidence. Your ability to then turn around and say, you know what? I can do this. I'm strong enough. Doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm able to find a new way of moving forward. And I think it's a very, very powerful way of understanding about yourself and also getting better rewards, because people want to invest in those who have trust and credibility. And if you can say, we're going to be fine, then they'll believe you and they'll move with you. Number five is this: accelerated learning. Now, one of the things was a complete misnomer, in my opinion, about what happens at school. You go to school, you go to secondary school, you go to university, you never have to learn again. Well, that's not true. It's not like that. I think you're always on a learning curve, and the more you understand that and accept it, the better your abilities. And when you do stuff to learn later on in life, especially in the workplace, you'll find stuff that's more related to your actual earnings and your success. So you should always learn all the time. Improving your leadership skills, number six, because the more that you take on new challenges, the more you learn from others, and the more that you teach and share with others, the easier it is to understand what your problems are and how you can fix them. Number seven is this: creating problem-solving skills. For those of us who don't have them to natural hand, learning them as you go. Jumping and growing wings on the way down is the best way to do it, but also just understanding that as you learn stuff and ask people and get mentors and coaches or Google what to do with them, you become a much better leader as a direct result. Now, all these are adaptable for making more money because these are the skills that people want to pay you for. Number eight is new revenue streams. When you are doing something, it's often another way of being able to do something else, which you hadn't considered because maybe, it's not your favorite thing to do, but somebody will pay for it. Adding more of them means that you never have to worry about having zero income because you're juggling a number of different plates at the same time. And some are passive, some need a lot of work, but you've got to juggle what you decide to put the investment in to make that happen. Two more to go, then we'll open up to the room. Number nine, stronger competitive advantage. Embracing challenges and innovations that people don't go near means that you raise your game, you get seen as being better, and some people will say, that's the person I want to work with. And finally, a benefit of really getting outside your comfort zone is your personal satisfaction and motivation. You feel better. You feel your life is a direct result of all the stuff you've achieved, your values, your beliefs, but also what you've done from the very beginning. If you know every day's got challenges, but you can still do it, it it's a real benefit for you. And it also means that for those of you who are in your care and those that you interact with, you can really help them as well. Now, it's a lot of talking from me. I don't intend to talk so much. I just hope that that was able to clarify the whole point in having today's session. And now I'm opening up the door to everybody to jump on stage and share their thoughts. But first of all, I'm going to go to Debbie. Debbie, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, talk about the spotlight. I was actually just reading the 10 again from within the group, and I think they're great. I mean, basically, enhanced creativity, expanding network. I was thinking about the, not the accelerated learning, the one where you discussed a little bit more about stepping out of your comfort zone in order to get more comfortable, being uncomfortable, and seeing potential within a business that you would ordinarily just be looking in one direction. That I think would be prime for most people because everybody's set in their ways. They get into habits that things fall into that particular routine.
I agree with you, and I really think that we're in an age now of disruption, which is really good but really bad for many people because you can't guarantee anything will be there in the near future unless you adapt to the fact that maybe if it isn't there, what are you going to do to fix it? So a single income is a big challenge. You lose it, what are you going to do next? Having that and at least having a side hustle or a hobby or something that you've got fingers in pies would be a smarter way of guaranteeing you stick around longer. So I think there's a lot out there with that. I'd love to know what other people think as well. So if you're in the audience and you're thinking, Dave, I'd like to say something, I disagree with your entire list and I think you're a Muppet, fine, stick your hand up and let me know. Well, not the Muppet bit, I'm not so keen on that. Um,
So, sorry, going back to what you were saying, I listened to the interview with Dove Barron that you
oh,
did
yeah.
this week. Brilliant interview. But yeah, you were talking about the resistance within that, or he was. And that's where the growth comes in.
That's where I was
I love
inspired
that.
for. Sorry, carry on, carry on. I'm interrupting you.
No, go on, go on, go on.
Yeah, if anybody hadn't listened to the interview I did with Dov Barron this week, it is, in my opinion, the best interview conversation I've ever had. I think that, I mean, I've known Dov for a couple of years. We chat quite a lot, and I've recorded most of the sessions. But now, because it's part of our Speak on Stage podcast series, I wanted it to be super relevant because previous ones we've talked about American elections before. That's how far back we go, chatting about it. You know, Trump versus Biden first time round. But we talked at length about comfort zones and about authoritarians and about the challenges facing your average person to find their successes. And the things he shares in there are just off the chart because we're made to look for comfort zones. But the truth is, you'll never grow and you'll never really get to the level where you need to be unless you stay outside of your comfort zone, be curious, and get used to the fact that the least comfortable you are, the more you're going to have to get your super brain to come up with great challenges to be able to raise where you are, who you are, and what you do.
Exactly, exactly. Especially right now with the constant changes of AI, that is a game changer in itself.
I think with AI, and we're talking a lot, but we'd love to have the comments and thoughts from people in the room. Nazrul has just joined us, and Titsia, we've not talked to you for a very long time, and Rakala as well. I think AI is still in its toddler stage. I think that people have no idea just how much it's going to have an impact. And I think the impact it's going to have is not just going to be on the way that we look at our own business and our own job functions, but I think we'll find that things that we didn't really have an input into will change dramatically. Like, for instance, being a bus driver. When you've got automated buses going everywhere, then that means that things will arrive on time, exactly at the right time, and there's a different relationship you have with your money because you won't be asking for change, you won't be smiling at a driver. It'll stop, you get in, it'll beep, 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 and then you get back on again, and you'll click your credit card or your phone or your watch or whatever it is, and you'll move on. That's just the very beginning of what AI is going to do for people. And if people are saying, oh, yeah, that's not going to happen yet, already in Dubai, we have automated trams and trains. Not a single driver anywhere. They run on time, and as long as it's not raining, they're perfect. So expect massive disruption and new businesses to be reinvented as a direct result of AI, which is why you need to be able to lean into what your skills are, which includes being open.
But in fact, a point that was just made is people are resistant to change, and you're seeing that a lot more now.
Yeah.
With the those that are for AI, those that are against AI, it's one of those things where people don't actually. no matter how you look at it, it's here. You need to find a way to work with it comfortably.
This is like people saying, you know what, I don't like cars, I'm going to stay with horse drawn carriages. Yeah, good luck with that. You're absolutely right. For many hundreds of years, horse drawn carriage was the way to do it, but it's not anymore. So you either get with the program or you move to one side and wonder where the earth went from underneath your feet. The smart people reinvent themselves and constantly stay in a state of reinvention. I think that's the way that everybody should be considering. So let's open it up to the floor. You and I have chatted, as I'm happy to do forever. But I know that by the time we come to the end of the session, everyone's got their hands up and wants to join in and share something. And as always, it's a pleasure when we can get them up earlier and find out who they are and what they do. Almasa, always a pleasure to have you coming to join us on stage. We've not talked for ages. You must have been very busy or you must have fallen out with me. How's life?
Hi, Dave. No, I mean, actually, I was in kind of a self retreat. I would name it as a personal lockdown. And these days, I'm really questioning my purpose because I'm sick and tired of bullshitters and time wasters that I'm facing all the time, which is unfortunately the what we have to deal with these days. So I have been a bit quiet because I was looking at some other options. And as you mentioned, life creativity has always to move. It's like tides. It's very funny because the message you sent on the group didn't say outside but say outside, which is very much relevant with the weather forecast we have had lately in Dubai.
There's a
you know
typo.
so all these floods that were trying to be diminishing. So regarding what we are talking about, definitely you always constantly need to question yourself and to reinvent yourself and hit some new directions. So on my curriculum on my LinkedIn page, I mentioned that I have a PhD at the University of